Great Expectations. Let me read it to you. It says, it was one of those March days when the sun shone hot and the wind blows cold, when it is summer in the light and winter in the shade. And that is what we have experienced all this month. And I am so glad to say that April is right around the corner. And we're going to maybe have some April showers, but it is not going to be hot and cold and hot and cold. So we're looking forward to that. We are also looking forward to, Kayla is going to wind this show up at the end, and she has a real wonderful surprise for us because we are going to see some of the artwork, a lot of pottery, or I'm not sure what because I haven't seen it, but Madonna has brought, she has pictures of their work, and she'll be sharing that at the closing of this show. So we can get this started. The first person that is going to speak to us is, how long did it take? Come on. How long did it take you to make this?
I don't know.
Suzanne, tell us all about it. It's wonderful. Suzanne Huffnagel.
Okay. I have to stand in the middle. Today I brought for you Topsy Turvy Turtle, and it's a baby quilt, and I will say it was most enjoyable to make. I had the center part where the turtles and the flowers and the butterflies are, and those squares was all fabric from previous projects. So I did buy the borders to coordinate, but everything in the middle was things I already had in what quilters call their stash. So each block, each image inside the block is appliqué, and let's see. The turtle has the most pieces. It has 1, 2, it has the shell, the head, the tail, and 2 feet. So I had to cut all of those individually. But the scariest part of the whole thing was when I had to take a permanent pen and draw the turtles' faces. I thought, if I mess this up, it's all over. But I did really well, kept a steady hand, and they all have little faces on them. Some of them are more girly, and some are more boy. But it was a really fun quilt to make. I hope you enjoy seeing it out on the wall these next couple of months. So enjoy.
Bobby is next, and he always does something really big and interesting. And it's interesting, but it's not quite as big as he's known for painting.
Well, incidentally, I started this on a 30 by 30 canvas, and I wanted these mountains to go down, and I want to use gold leaf in them to show the the sunshine. Well, I worked on that thing for a couple of months. It never did turn out. The gold was too bright, and the mountain was too rough. So I just did this on a small one. It's just another church. Susan and I were watching TV one night on old black and white show, and they had this picture of a painting showing, and we said I need to paint that. So anyway, it's finally here. Thank you.
Bill Crosby is next, and he's one of our budding artists, and he is so exciting because he paints fast and many paintings, just one right after another, so we can all learn from him.
You've heard the song, "There's a hole in the bottom of the sea." There's a log in the hole in the bottom of the sea. When I was a child, about 10 or 12 years old, I lived near a bayou. For those who don't know about bayous, it's a stream. usually very shallow, and I'd go hunting for frogs and turtles and that sort of thing, and take them home, which mother didn't much care for. But anyway, that was kind of inspiration. We go to Shelby Farms Park a lot, and we enjoy driving through there. One of my favorite places is just hidden away. Most of you probably haven't seen it. It's a little paved driveway, one way, and not much sunlight comes into it. That's why it looks so dark. It's all green. I mean, it's really, really green most of the time. Anyway, I saw a turtle on a log. So I said, well, turtle on a log and kind of stream in the middle of the park. So that was my old song. But you can't see it from where you are because it's so dark, but there's actually a turtle there on a log in the stream. Well, by George, you can see it. I made it a little bluer than he really is so that you can see it, but I never have seen a blue turtle, but there's one. But I enjoyed doing it. It was quick, and there's a little snake over there and another little turtle. But it's like Jerry said, it was a quick deal. And I got it done, and I'm on to another one.
That's right. Don Myers is going to come now and share with us. I told Don I wanted to buy that painting, and he said it belonged to his son. That was a big disappointment because I love that painting. Tell us about it.
Well, this is one of my favorites, not necessarily because I painted it, but because of the scene. This is in San Miguel, Mexico. We spent several days there. Some friends rented a house for about a month in San Miguel and invited us to stay several days with them. And I snapped pictures all over the place. San Miguel is very European in appearance. All of the architecture is European. There is a high percentage of Americans that live there, and it's a beautiful climate, so it's a great place to visit if you can get there safely. You just have to go through some treacherous territory to get to where you're going. But we made it. But I snapped this picture in a plaza there in San Miguel, and I could not have found two actors to address the part any better than what I was fortunate enough to snap the picture. And those of you who like photography, the one nice thing that we can do that you can't do with a photograph is you can make changes to it. The vendor on the right-hand side was facing the other direction in my photograph. But that didn't make sense. He was holding his hand out for somebody who was not in the picture. And with a painting, you try to draw the viewer's attention to a certain area. So by turning him the other way, and the man that looks like Buffalo Bill or Wild Bill Hickok, Howard, he has his hand in his pocket to pay for the newspapers. There are several things to observe in this particular painting, I think, that added interest in it for me. Look at the number of newspapers that are lined up over on the wall, because there are so many foreigners that come and visit here and they want a copy of a newspaper from their home area. That's one thing to notice. I was fascinated by the belt buckle on the character, Wild Bill Hickok, and I also was interested in, if you'll notice, right below Wild Bill Hickok, there's a piece of paper that's taped on the bar of the little bicycle rack that he brings all of his newspapers in to sell. Notice that it's curled, so that tells you that the wind was blowing. And so I found that an interesting thing to paint in it. But those little details sometimes make a more interesting photograph, and they make a more interesting painting. But again, I'll just say the reason I like this so much, the opportunity to paint it, was because of the two characters. I'm just crazy about them.
Mary McCormick is going to come next, and she's right here, Don.
Okay.
has something going on. And in this case, this girl is looking out in the yard and she can see a deer. And I had to work on the fact to make it look like it was a dog. And I was kind of inspired by this because my daughter and son-in-law decided about 20 years ago to buy some property, a house, and they got 40 acres. My son-in-law's gonna hunt. Builds this deer stand, plants little stuff to attract the deer. 20 years later, he doesn't kill deer. The reason being, if you get up any morning and you look out in the yard, there are anywhere from 1 to 6 or 7 deer. You don't shoot your neighbors, do you? The girl is looking for the deer, and I hope you see it.
I love that, Marilyn, especially the fact that you captured the sunrise when the deer comes out to feed. I love that part when she's holding her coffee cup and she's gotten up early in the morning and she's gone out to watch the deer. I love things that tell a story, and that's a good story. And you did a good job with that painting. Okay, next we have Leora Eli, and she has the most amazing thing, I think, in this show.
Since I had my first presentation last time, 2 months ago, excuse me, I've had lots of people ask me about Lego flowers. So this particular one, which you can see better up there than you can here, is one of the most recent sets that they released under their botanical collection, and it's called Pink Bouquet. It's made up of several different flowers. I've put a glossary, so to speak, in front of the display so that you can see which flowers are which. Also, the base is not made out of Legos. And in preparing for this, I wanted to give you just a little bit more knowledge about Legos because so many people have asked me so many questions. First of all, the first Lego flowers that were made, they used existing Lego parts. So this very primitive rose, the petals are actually car hoods. And I was going to leave this with these so you can see how they've evolved. Now they make special parts, but they also reuse in different ways existing parts. So that some of the pieces here you'll find in other sets. For I don't think it was this orchid, but one of their orchids, they actually used a monster head from a TV set. So they repurpose things, and the same thing with color. They'll use a piece that will reflect either the surface of the leaf or the petal, and that's how they get the flowers. The other thing that's interesting, particularly about the botanical collection, is it's now made of sustainable plastic, which is 98% plant-based. So these Lego flowers are made out of plant plastic.
All right.
I also brought, if people want to look at it afterwards, this is the direction book on how to put them together. So most people always ask me, how do you do it? This is it. So just stop me afterwards.
Okay, the next is Walter Overby, and he's coming to tell us about if that painting looks kind of cold.
Well, it may be cold because it's in Alaska. Last year, my son that lives in Texas took a vacation trip to Alaska, and I think he really enjoyed it. He sent us back several pictures, which I thought were beautiful. And anyway, I'm not going to Alaska. I'm not going to climb around on the mountains. All I can do is hobble around. So I thought I'd take a look at his photographs and try to paint one of them. And I painted the one with the train going around the mountain. Now it looks like the train is going to fall off the mountain. But that's just the way he took the photograph. The train, I asked him, the train didn't fall off the mountain. And I don't really know what else I can tell you about the photograph, about the painting. I did it out of acrylic, and I enjoy doing it. But I don't know how good it is. Jerry keeps on trying to get me to chase me out of the art room, so I don't know whether it's me or it could be my paintings. She must be something about me. What do y'all think?
Painting's good, Walter.
The painting's okay, right?
Painting's
Not the painting.
You can't believe everything that Walter says. I think y'all all know him well enough. I don't need to say no more.
Hello. Glad you're here. Glad you came to see our show. We wish you would come and paint with us. Or you can make something. Look what I made. Now this little cutie is actually not a newborn. She's 31 years old. When my mother was here, this lady that lived down the hall from her was making these little pillowcase dolls. And you take a pillowcase and you cut it in two halfway. First off, you embroidery the design on the bottom of the pillowcase. And then you cut it in two, and then you take the top part of the pillowcase and you cut out the whole body. The whole body has legs and a body and a head and arms and legs. So it's a complete little body. Then you just make the bodice of the dress, and you will see these tiny pleats in the bodice of this little dress. And I think that's one of the cute little things about it too. Oh, her ribbon came untied. We'll fix that later. Then you make the little bonnet, and you can cut all of that out. It looks like it would be take a lot of fabric, but it's just the top of that pillowcase does the whole body and the top of the dress. So there she is. She's 31 years old, and she still looks like she's brand new.
Here's Sarah over here. I was afraid Sarah wasn't going to make it today, but she came right in at the beginning, and we always look forward to her flowers. She's just, just like Suzanne, you're the quilter, and she's the flower lady.
Good afternoon. This is my picture. I call it Breakfast for One, and it was inspired by my opening my door one summer day, and many of you have received the same little gift outside your door in the summertime. We have some ladies here, I call them the zinnia ladies. They grow zinnias in the garden, and when they bloom, they cut them and they put them in pretty little jars or a cup, and they bring them and they put them by your door. And when you open the door, it just makes you so happy to see those happy little flowers. And I don't know if any of them are here today, but the ones I know about are Cindy Dabrowski, Jane Longfield, Marcia Griner, and Patricia Latimer. And there may be others, and I don't know if they're going to do it again this year, but they've done it for at least 2 or 3 years, and we've really enjoyed it. So, this was my painting. The
Oh, okay. There you go.
Okay, my picture is eggs. And do you know how expensive eggs are? So, but no, I did this because when Ken and I were living in our country house, he got it in his head that he wanted to grow chickens. And so he had in his head how many hens he wanted, and what kind they were, and so that's what we did. And we had so much fun with those chickens. We gave them to people. We used them a lot, and we loved it when we cracked one and it was a double yolk. And we loved finding the double yolk ones. So that's the picture. That's all.
Okay. John is going to join us next. He has sort of a special story that he's going to tell us about his painting. It's a wonderful painting. It's a watercolor, and we're accustomed to seeing his woven art. And today he's brought us something that's very, very special.
Well, this is a watercolor. Now, I don't do watercolor paintings anymore because, well, let's just say at some point in time, I had a little stroke, and then that makes it harder to do things. Anyway, this is called Bradford Johnson's Bucket. It is a watercolor, and I took a while to do it. The last thing I painted was this area. I said it looked kind of dull. I didn't know what to do with it, so I put a fence post up. And I said, well, I better put some barbed wire on it. And then I said, well, it still needs something else, so, how about a bucket? So, these two birds up here, they didn't find anything in the bucket, so they just were flying off. And what more can I say? It's Bradford Johnson's Bucket. Bradford Johnson is a real person, and I was very influenced by his paintings. And he was a watercolor artist, and I just, for some reason, called this painting Bradford Johnson's Bucket. So, but Jody told me that this was done, when did I do this?
Pardon?
When did I do this?
In 02 or 03?
Okay. When did we get married? No. That's it.
Well, the last painting happens to be me with my out of my comfort zone. That is the name of my painting, Out of My Comfort Zone. And the reason that is I painted it with a knife, and you can see the texture in the trees and all, and in the water even, that I painted it with a knife. And that was really out of my comfort zone. But I was getting kind of bored with kind of painting the same type of thing, and I decided I would do something totally different. And this is not from a painting or a picture. I just dreamed it up. and you can look at it and tell, boy, she just dreamed that thing up, because I didn't have anything to go by. I do remember that I was in Colorado with my daughters, and they do fly fishing, and they one daughter paints and all this and the other. So and the aspen trees were beautiful when we were there. And then Colorado has water, so I just put all these things together and came up with this painting. And this is my daughter, who is actually painting the scenery across the water. And then I decided, I've got to make this thing a little more interesting, because it's boring. And so I put Carrie's two dogs in it, and they're down there in the grass area, the little bitty white puppies there. And then I decided, well, I'll put her fishing pole, because she is the best fisher woman, I don't know, fisher girl, fisher, whatever. But she went on a very expensive fly fishing trip with her husband once, and the men were furious because he brought her with him, and no other women were there, and they didn't like that, and they gave both of them the cold shoulder until they went out on the first day. Guess who caught the only fish that was caught the entire day? My daughter, Carrie. So she is really good at fishing, but she's also wonderful at painting, so I put her doing both things. She's got her little basket there, and then her husband is excellent fishing as well, fly fishing, and he's way up there, about a third of the way, no, about 3/4 of the way up, and he's hidden in the aspen trees, but he's fishing in one of these little eddies, and someone told me the other day that when she saw the painting, she says, oh, you have little eddies in there where the water backs into little areas, and they said the fish love to, be in those little eddies. So he's way up there, and there's a little eddy that goes off the side of the water, and he's fishing up there. And then there's an eddy down here, and you can just barely see a brown trout that is kind of resting in that area. Now, the reason I put all these little details in, and I've even added her fishing basket, and because you have all these the lines that you change out and all this and the other, and you have little flies that you fish with. Anyway, I decided I would put those things in there, and a fish hook. And the reason I got carried away is because we have an 18-month-old baby, great-grandbaby, and he can now look at these and you can say, can you find the fish hook? Can you find Uncle Jason fish? Can you find the puppy dog? And so that's the redeeming part of that painting, because it is out of my comfort zone. I will probably never paint a landscape like that before again. I know one time I went on a workshop with these really accomplished artists, and it was in Colorado, and they were painting, everything was kind of gray-green, and I just wasn't into painting the gray-green trees and all that sort of stuff. And so I turned my canvas around and I started painting the artist, painting the trees. Then the trees became a lot more interesting to me. But I'm not a landscape artist by any means, but I did enjoy painting this with a knife. And that's just a little knife. And anyway, so that's my story on that. And Kayla's gonna come now and wind us up and give us a.
With me. So I have several pieces of them actually they do a lot of clay molding and a lot of pottery, but they have such a great time. There have been a handful of times I've walked into our art room and saw smiles like this. Sometimes. Jeannie? Good. So I just wanted to flip through a few of these. They are planning on coming. We're trying to put something together for them to come back and visit again, hopefully in May, to visit with all the residents here, and then also to present some of their art then and bring some of the pottery they made, some of the pots. They have a little shop that they do as well, so I told them that I wanted to present them today, so that way when they do come, you can go, oh, I saw your painting, or I saw your pottery, and I'm sure they would really, really love that. I included up here some more information about the Madani Learning Center for those of you who are not familiar with it. And if you have any questions about it, you're welcome to see Gary Winfield, because he knows everything about this place. So thank you again to Jerry and all of our wonderful Kirby Hines artists and fabric artists and our Lego artists. Enjoy the spread in the back. Have a glass of wine. There's an Arnold Palmer back there too. But thank you so much.